showing how to do double French braids. So I've already brushed out her hair, and this is Aubrey, I'm sure you can see, and she has kind of just, I think it's called fine hair. Her hair is not thick, but her hair is also not thin. So it's like that kind of in between.
It's like soft.
It can go on the thin side, but it could also, I won't even say thick, because I know some people with some pretty thick hair. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to be doing 2 French braids. French braids are the braids that the braid sits in the hair. So instead of it sitting on top, that's a Dutch braid, it's a French braid, so it sits in. So I'm going to show how to do that one for my first braiding tutorial video. And I guess we'll just get right into it. Before I start teaching how to French braid, I'm going to do a little tutorial on actually just how to braid real quick, just in case you don't know. So, how to braid, you take the hair, separate it in to 3 pieces. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you take, I'm going to call this piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. So piece 1 is going to go over piece 2, like that. Then piece 3 is going to go over piece 1. Then piece 2, this is piece 2 right here, because you can see it's coming from the middle strand, is going to go over piece 3. Piece 1 is going to go over piece 3. Piece 2 is going to go over piece 3. Piece 1 is going to go over piece 3. Piece 1, I can't even keep up anymore. But there you go, you kind of get the gist. So it's really just the outside strands are going over the middle strand, is another way I can explain it. So outside strand goes over middle, outside strand goes over middle, outside strand goes over middle. So that's kind of another way you can look at it. But that's just how to braid. So that's what your braid should look like. But now I'm going to teach you how to do this braid. So let's go get into that. So the first thing I like to do is I find a lot of people find it easier to wet the hair. So if you have like a little water bottle, you can wet the hair. If not, that's fine. I just know that it's easier. And if you don't have one of these spray bottles, you can get them at Walmart for like $1. Or you can just wet your hairbrush at a sink and then wet their hair. So her hair is nice and wet, and she just went and got a drink of water. So she's going to be drinking some water. Because, you know, getting your hair braided is just a tough task. Okay, and then she has a part on this side, but I'm just going to go ahead and fix it. You can part your hair however you want. For the hairstyle I'm showing you, which is this one, I'm going to put a little picture of the ending result in the corner. But really part your hair anyway. You can part it down the middle, this side, really any way you want it. I would say go with their natural part. Whoever's hair you're braiding, whatever their natural part is how I would start braiding their hair. That's where I would part it, because that's going to be the easiest. So now that I've wet her hair, I'm going to go ahead and show you all the tools I'm going to be using to do her hair. So of course I use my spritz bottle. Then I'm going to be using some hairspray at the very end to just hold it all in. And this is the hairspray that we think works best for the type of braiding we like to do. Of course, I just got my hairbrush. Excuse all the hair in it. I'm going to be using these big hair ties just to separate her hair and hold it in place while I'm braiding. And then these are what I'm going to use to secure. These are just little rubber bands, the tiny ones. I find these best for braiding hair, you know. So the first thing I'm going to do is, Aubrey, look down, please. Not that dramatically. Is I'm just going to take her hair and I'm going to split it into 2 sides. This doesn't really have to be a perfectly straight line in the back of their head. If you're a perfectionist, you can go ahead. But I just like to split her hair pretty well down the middle. Then I'm going to start with this side. So I'm going to tie this side off using my big hair tie. Just so it doesn't get in my way while I'm braiding. I don't have to worry about accidentally pulling hair from this side into the other side's braid. It's just out of my way. And I just tie that off into a little pigtail.
That's true.
Head up, please. So now I can just focus on the braiding. This is where I'm going to start the tutorial now. So you can start with a tiny piece of hair at the front, like something about like this big, or if you're kind of just getting started with this, you can start with a bigger piece of hair about this big. You can start with however big you want it. The smaller the hair you start with, the smaller the closer to her her part the braid's going to start. But if you start with this big of a hair, then the braid's probably going to start about right here. And what I mean by start is where you're going to see the braid start to form, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the bigger piece just for the tutorial so you can see really how I'm doing it. So I just take this piece, and you can brush it out if you need to, or not, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to separate it into 3 pieces. So 1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6.
So now I've got my 3 pieces.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
now,
16.
If you know how to regular braid, the first step is just regular braiding. So you take this side, pull it over, this side, pull it over. Now, this is where the French braiding actually starts. So you see I've got this piece of hair right here. Well, I'm going to take a piece of hair from her head, and I'm going to pull it. So now I've got this piece of hair right here. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to connect it with this piece of hair. So now it's 1 strand.
Yeah.
Then I'm just going to braid it over. Now, moving on to this side. So I've got this strand of hair.
I play with my hair, okay? I braid my own.
I'm going to take this piece of hair right here. I'm pulling it from just a spot on her head. And I'm going to connect it. So this makes 1 strand. And then I'm going to braid it.
I'm braiding all sides of my hair.
Some people call this like 1 stitch, I guess you could say, but I'm just going to say braiding. So now I'm going to repeat again. So I've got this strand of hair right here. I'm going to pull a piece from her head. Make sure it's nice and straight.
I braided my own hair, Zizzy.
All brushed out. Good job, Aubrey. And then I'm going to connect it with this strand. Make this 1 piece. Then, once it's 1 piece, I'm going to braid it over.
You thirsty too, kitty? Here you go.
Okay. Showing you again. I'm taking this strand of hair right here. I'm pulling a piece from this side of her head. Brushing it out. Connecting it to make 1 strand right here. And then braiding it over. I'm just going to do this again. Over and over again. And that's just basically what you're doing.
I suck at this.
At first, a lot of people struggle with holding the hair as they're braiding. Their hands get tangled. But really what I do is I'll try to show you how I hold the hair. So, I take this strand and I hold it with these 3 fingers. I take this strand, I hold it with this finger. And then while I'm working with the strand that I'm pulling and connecting hair with, I use my right hand. You can see where the braid's forming right here. So that's how I hold the hair, if that helps at all. And Aubrey's acting like a dog, so.
Woof, woof.
Okay, so I've gotten pretty far into the braid. And this is what it's looking like so far. So this is what you're really wanting your braid to look like. It doesn't have to look just like this because I have a lot more experience than the person learning how to braid is going to have. But I'm just going to show you basically how to finish off the braid. So I'm just continually pulling the hair. And you'll notice as you get farther to the bottom, you're going to start to gather a lot more hair. So you're going to have more hair to hold in your hands. Some people start to lose the braid as they get farther down just because of all the hair they're holding. It gets kind of hard, you know. But I'm going to have Aubrey look down. And I'm going to show you how to finish off the braid once you get to the end. Because a lot of the problems that I have frequently with braiding is that when I get to the bottom of the hair, it tends to want to like bump up. So the goal is to pull it as tight as you can. I see I already got a little bump forming right there. And then I'm going to flip my hands over so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pulling it tight, and I'm going to start regularly braiding down the hair. And see, I had a little bump that formed right there. So if you want, you could go back and fix it. I'm not going to worry about it, but I'm just going to braid down. And you definitely want to know how to braid before you start the thing. So, just braid it all the way down. Okay. So I braided as far down as I want to. You can braid all the way down, or you can turn this into a different type of hairstyle and tie it off right here where the braid ends and create pigtails. But I'm going to go ahead and braid it all the way. I braided it all the way down. Now I'm just tying it off as many times as my little rubber band will go. Okay. That seems good to me. Then, I got this braid. If you want to make the hair look thicker, you can just take the braid and tug on it, and it'll make the hair look thicker. So, I made the hair look a little thicker.
What?
Okay. Now that I've done this side of the hair, I'm going to go ahead and start on this side. French braiding it. And this side's going to be a little easier. It's not going to take as much time. Just because there's less hair you have to pick up. So it's going to be quicker. So it's the same thing. I'm going to go through this side pretty quickly. I'm grabbing a pretty good strand of hair. I'm separating it into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. I'm doing a regular braid at first, and then I start pulling the hair in. So I'm just pulling the hair. Okay, so I have finished up this braid basically. I'm just braiding it down. And I'm just going to tie it off. And this side didn't take me nearly as long. And I kind of rushed through this braid, so it's not as pretty as it could be. But this is basically what you want the ending to look like. Just 2 braids. And this is the French braid. So, thanks for watching.